A few things from the investing side. One is I think we have seen a growing shift in investor appetite, right? The willingness to be more open-minded about investing in broader energy has come back to, I think, a really rational spot, right? I think there was, kind of previous iterations we've lived through that were sort of commodity oil and gas focused at the exclusion of everything else. I think we saw a dip and a retreat into the exact opposite where it was completely at the exclusion of that. Now I think we're getting to more of a happy medium where, again, we're doing things in a better way. We're doing things in a less impactful way to the environment, and we can have a broader definition of what is a good place in energy to invest in.
It's not a four-letter word, right?
Some of the institutions that left have started to come back, particularly on the natural gas side and some of the broader kind of fuel space. I think in terms of what those investors are looking for, what still resonates from my perspective is the capital discipline. We saw and lived through, kind of the 2010 to 2015 period of just, CapEx for CapEx sake. Just, however we can grow production is a successful outcome. And I still think, 10 years on from that oil downturn at the end of 2014, just kicked off and kind of kept us at levels, that we haven't seen in a long time previously. I think that enforced capital discipline is true across both transition and traditional energy, right? The need for dollar to be invested to generate return, predictable, I don't want to say safe, but within a reasonable band of outcomes is going to generate an expected return. That enforced discipline, I think, is still at the front of every capital investing decision.
Yeah. You said something earlier about, either following trends, either whether it's politically motivated or not, and then people trying to buck the trend. I think on the capital side that we've observed over the years and even the last 5-10 years, or really more 5 years since COVID, where someone's always trying to make a contrarian bet. And I feel like that's maybe coming back to the middle a little bit. Like you said, that there's, people are acknowledging that, especially because of the need of, there's power demand, right? That, okay, my traditional resources aren't necessarily a bad thing because they're a means to an end, right? And I always think about like T. Boone Pickens back like 15, 20 years ago, who was very much an oil and gas guy, but was one of the early adopters of it's a pathway to wind and solar, right? And kind of got pushed aside because he was considered just an oil and gas guy talking his book, but really was one of the first energy transition kind of pathways. And in terms of capital, maybe people were thinking that, well, he's really talking oil and gas, but he is actually talking, kind of alternative and sustainable energy. So I agree. And I think that, now it's those that maybe would kind of shun any type of exposure to oil and gas. It's nice to see how they would kind of incorporate that more.
Well, to be contrarian and take the opposite of what you said earlier, I don't think there's a cohesive plan. And what I would point to is,
I agree. There needs to be one, though.
Well, that may be true, but I wouldn't.
I'm not going to hold my breath.
Put DraftKings money on that.
Yeah.
I look at kind of where we are at in the nuclear space today, right? And I think there's a lot of optimism around small nuclear reactors, of kind of right-sizing those for data centers. I think, as I mentioned earlier, the fear around, kind of rapidly escalating utility costs for homeowners and individuals. I think having nuclear sources is going to be a key component of that. At the same time, there's questions about the technology. There's questions about the regulatory side. Those projects are very expensive and almost by definition take longer and cost more than planned. And so it is really messy on that side right now. And it'll be interesting to see kind of what the fallout is. But I think there's value in that messiness of kind of allowing the market to figure out what the right outcome is.
Yeah, agreed.